Ladies and gentlemen, we have returned once again with the next episode of PvMer Spotlight. I think we're currently on, episode 10, I think? Hopefully? If not, then whatever, it doesn't matter. Today, we are joined with a PvM legend, someone who is probably well known in the chamber scene, but that's not the only place he's really well known. He has gotten records in top, he's gotten records in chambers, he's done simulations, he is probably one of the biggest names in the high level community scene. His name is De0.
Hello.
It is an honor to be talking with you today, Mr. De0. So, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So I've been playing RS since like 2006, but I didn't really get much into it until probably like 2009, where I found this minigame called Great Orb Project, and I really liked that minigame, so I just played it over and over, and like got a lot better at it, got pretty good at it, and then eventually like started just wanting to go for the world records. So I got like a couple world records there, really really good ones, and then pretty much when Old School came out, I pretty much changed to that game, just like a lot of people, because I couldn't really get into EOC. It was too big of a change for me. So, but I played pretty casual until about like 2018, when I kind of found a friend group to do chambers, and I always wanted to like, do the raids, but I wanted to do them more efficiently and more efficiently, just because it's like boring waiting around for prep or, you know. So I got into chambers, and then when TOB came out, that was like the most fun point I've had in this game. Like TOB release, like you're always anticipating that first KC that someone was going to get, but it didn't happen for 3 days or something. So
Yeah, it took
that
so
was
long.
that was a lot of fun. And so like once I got like my first KC and then like second KC, I got like a rapier, and I've been enjoying TOB since. I got back into it recently, and then
Oh,
but like for a while after TOB, I started doing chambers and had a lot of fun back at chambers again, with more upgraded gear and just going for records. So yeah, that's pretty much how it's been.
I think I'm not sure if you remember this, but outside of like mentions from Hato, I think the first time I actually did like an interaction with you was back when I think it was that CM Discord ran by Ficos or something. I was in one of those CMs, like an 8-man or something that we did. But at the time, I was like, I didn't really talk to anyone at all. And it was like the first day of me doing it, but after that, I pieced out because I was just way too socially awkward.
Oh yeah, yeah. That Thecos' CM disc that was pretty cool for quite a while. Like Thecos and Bloopy just raiding, and anyone could come as long as they met the requirements. Anyone could come and raid. It was just so much fun doing those 7 to 9 mans and optimizing them somewhat.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how you got into End-Game PvM. I know you were talking a little bit about, Tob getting to Casey and the Rapier,
hmm
but just want to hear a little bit more about what eventually got you into it.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, wanting to be more efficient in chambers, and then TLB released, and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to find teams faster for TLB, because at the moment, some of my friends weren't playing anymore TLB, and at the same time, I really wanted to find like efficient, super efficient like players, because I knew like I could like I knew I could like be up kind of up there, but so I joined Oblivion and found a lot of new teammates. That was like amazing. And then eventually I met Hoodler, and Hoodler like asked me like after we did a few money raids together, he asked me like, "Hey, do you want to run some speedruns sometime?" And I'm like, "Sure." So like I don't know. That's kind of how I began speedrunning.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about being a part of Summit and some of the really cool in-depth stuff you've kind of learned over the years being a part of Summit, or just, just learning things as you've kind of played the game.
Yeah, so I remember seeing a model of the tick, like it was like a GitHub from data dependent. It had like a model of the tick and various skilling applications it had, and I thought that was really cool. So it was like, and it was made by Summit members. It was like Henke did the tick model, and then data dependent and a whole bunch of others worked on all the applications. And so I thought that was really cool. But at first I didn't really decide to apply to Summit, but then eventually, after joining the Summit public Discord, I was asked to make an application. I'm like, sure, why not? I'll give it a try. And then I learned a lot during that time. Like my game knowledge was super scattered, before then. And then when I joined, it all came together and everything worked nicely. So after I joined the Summit, the main things I did were expand Henke's tick model. Like, that was the most useful thing in my eyes. Like, how actions get executed in one game tick. So what I did was I found a subtle, like, I don't know if you want to call it a leak or like it was some B-roll footage from 10 years anniversary video.
Really?
And that B-roll footage was a script that showed a blast mining controller. So I'm like, oh, this is really weird, because like we've always like sort of known about controllers, like what is this AI conq, this KPD instance thing. So we've always known about controllers, but until this script, until I've like decided to transcribe the blast mine script, we didn't know much at all. So we learned that controllers have timers. We learned where in the tick they get processed, and we learned like that they're pretty much just like NPCs, except they don't move and they don't they don't like take damage. They're not transmitted to the client as well. They're completely server sided. So controllers was one big thing, and then another thing in that script was there's a command called world delay inside of it. So that kind of hints toward like, what is this, like world delay? So it's like delaying the script for some amount of ticks. So that actually led to world queue discovery as well. And the world queue gets processed like really early on in the tick. So that was really exciting to learn about. And other than that, it's pretty much just a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Like one cool thing is that one cool thing I found is that like players have lists of scripts to run on them. There's like 4 of them, 4 main ones, and like each list gets processed in order and then goes to next list. But you know how death speed up works? You've probably been familiar with that.
Yeah, so like overkill, or like based on where you are, using like, let's say like you use a melee weapon versus like a ranged weapon, right?
Exactly. So if you have like a hit splat on the NPC that's gonna kill the NPC, like you rolled damage enough to kill the NPC, well, the NPC would process the hit splat. And if that was the only thing in the queue, well, it would just the NPC's queue, like it would queue death onto itself. But unfortunately, the way the queue is written, it wouldn't process that death on the same tick. Like the way it's iterated, the next item in that queue would not get seen until the next tick, because there's a bug. But if you have another hit splat in queue, then it'll go hit splat, and then death will be queued from that first hit splat, and then it'll have another hit splat that was already in the queue, so it's going to process that. And then since it did process that next item, now it will see the death, and that's how death speed up works.
So does that mean there's like some instances where if it doesn't die to overkill, then it might be able to like tick heal?
If it doesn't die to overkill, actually no, because hits from the player are not capped. Hits from players are not capped. So as long as you rolled enough, it can't tick regen.
Okay. I know, like, there's, like, some instances where at least, like, from what I've seen, sometimes it might heal, but it seems to die anyway. Like, for example, Xeric, where when you get that last hit on, like, it heals, but, like, you compare it to Vasa, where sometimes it'll die and other times it doesn't die.
Right. I forget, what is that heal at Xeric again? Like, at the end, it's like...
The red crabs.
Oh, yeah, the tornado, right.
Not the tornado, but the red crabs.
Oh, the red crabs as well. Like P3 tornado, but P2 red crabs, yeah. So that would be so the reds spawn after Xeric spawned, right? So the reds process after Xeric, that means generally, unless it's scuffed. So the red crabs process later in the tick, and they heal Xeric still, even though it reached its 0 HP. So there's no 0 HP check. We call those things an unchecked heal when something heals something else but doesn't check that it's 0 HP already. That's an unchecked heal. And that's all that is. But it still dies because death was queued anyways.
Yeah, and then meanwhile, Vasa, I don't know, it's like, it's as if the hit gets delayed or something. I don't know, maybe I'm just remembering it wrong, but I swear, I feel like the range hit should have hit sooner, and then the range hit comes in shortly after it heals. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then sometimes it dies. I don't know.
I've never noticed that, but I've definitely seen Vasa go to the crystal, heal up, have like a sliver of HP, but still die. I've definitely seen it, like, quote-unquote tick heal, but it's actually just the unchecked heal. But with death queued already. But yeah, so the main purpose of being in Summit to me was to expand on the tick model and to compile a list of the known commands that the JMods have to create content. Because those are like basically the what do you call it? Like the basic units of code that they can like talk to the engine with. Like there's two sides to the whole game. There's the engine side and there's the content side. And that's the way the content developers have access to the engine. So, as well as other things like pathfinding and like line of sight. Yeah. It's a bunch of stuff that the engine has as well.
I feel like some of this stuff is just really complex for my brain, but maybe just because I don't know about this sort of thing, so it would take me like a long time to kind of digest it. But I have definitely learned a lot from talking with you and Port, because when I spoke with Port, I created that that molten rock cake shit that I used at HiImSido ToA to survive the death balls while everyone else died. And then when I spoke with you, I was able to come up with the stuff I used at Hemi's HiImSido Top tournament, which was the running across the maze with the spellbook swap, and then using the pet rock. Well, then again, I wasn't the only one who used the pet rock because Kirby also used it too. But there's a lot of... Actually, no, I used NPC Contact. Never mind. I was misremembering. It's NPC Contact that I used.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, delaying yourself and then just having some sort of way to stay alive still. Like P-Neck is a good one. Yeah, those are a lot of fun. Like, using all this knowledge, you can create really cool stuff like rope skip. Like, that's something I really admire, like, Port Kazard for. It's, like, crazy. Like, Port Kazard and Morgul Kirby, like it used to be you can open an interface and pretty much cut the queue in half. Like, certain interfaces, like from the prayer book, open through queue. So it's going to be mid-queue that you can cut it in half. But that's how it used to work. It no longer works like that.
Oh yeah, because they changed it. That was back when they used they would go on the high risk worlds and then try to use protect item.
Yes.
See, yes. I thought that shit was like hilarious. Like, how did people figure this shit out? And then they nerfed it, of course, and I was just like, bruh.
Yeah, nowadays if you try and open an interface from queue, it'll still work, but it'll repeat. It'll reprocess the queue, so most likely it's just going to close. All right, so yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of cool commands that they use. Like they can queue scripts onto players. They could queue scripts onto NPCs, just like hit splats and stuff. They could pause scripts, and pausing scripts is super like interesting. And if they don't get pausing scripts right, then they have really dangerous bugs, that might be working with. So
I could see that, because like, imagine if they pause a script for like, let's say Callisto knockback or something. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Like a lot of the old bug abusers like took those scripts that like moved players a certain distance, and they found a way to like smuggle it out using interfaces or whatever, and they get that effect from whatever boss or whatever, and just smuggle it somewhere else to like no clip into a place that you wouldn't be normally able to access. So yeah, like pausing scripts is like super interesting because it like takes the script, saves the state, and then arbitrary amount of time goes by, and then that script is resumed later on with its old state. But yeah, they have those commands. They have commands for like setting timers on the NPC or player. One really cool command is hunt all, and that or hunt or like the NPC hunt all version. It kind of like it scans a square area around the center, and for like southwest tiles of players or NPCs, and it makes a list basically. It makes a list, and it can also check for line of sight or line of walk, and that's used in a lot of places nowadays. They love like hunt all nowadays.
Is that what
For
they
example,
use at like Verzik?
so yeah, like Verzik would be so the green ball, right? It hunt alls when it lands on a player so that it can bounce to a nearby player. That's always how things like bounce, like Venator bow. It bounces. It uses hunt all back to back to back. So yeah, bouncing and like for example, like Shaman, like shoots a blob and it hunt alls for the players.
Yeah. Speaking of Venator bow, I felt like how it worked at the start has changed as well once they sped it up, because I think now it reads the position of NPCs when you launched a bow compared to on release, where it was constantly reading when the projectile hit it. Because there were instances where
Right.
like I was playing around with it in Inferno, and there was like two NPCs that when I fired the bow, it seemed like it should have worked, but since the two NPCs got further apart, it didn't end up hitting. But I think now it would like read it right when you send the shot, so now it would bounce even after it gets further apart.
Exactly. It's kind of like it's more like Chins or Ice Barrage now, where it's just reads when you shoot it rather than, which is it's cooler, but I still wish it didn't prioritize NPCs the way it does. It like I wish it was useful in rope at least in CM.
Dude, that's what I instantly thought about. Maybe it'd be good for rope, but then I was like, what if it bounces back to the first NPC?
Exactly. You need basically a PhD or like a plugin to tell you which NPC to click on, to target the correct one to make sure it doesn't bounce to the wrong one. But yeah, it's just short range. It's kind of weak and doesn't target things you want to target. I don't know.
They neutered it compared to its original Xeric bow proposition. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's a good thing they replaced it with the ZCV, because the ZCV is one of the strongest spec weapons in the game, and it feels nice to have more spec options. But the issue is that they neutered the hell out of this bow, which in some ways I can see why people in Inferno wouldn't have been happy, and it's coming from a mid-level boss. So who knows, maybe it'll get upgraded in the future or something, but I don't know. It just sucks.
Yeah.
Compared to,
it's kind of weird too because it's like super like OP still in BA, but like it's so good, but it's so niche, like weird. I don't know.
I guess we'll have to see if they decide to make any more changes to it. But is there anything else you want to add to that, or shall we move on to the next question?
So like I'd say like one more command that they have that they use like pretty much all over combat in this game is called random inc. Of course, like you probably know about it already. Like random inclusive is what it is. And it rolls a number from 0 to the provided argument. So like if your max hit is 50, it'll roll a number from 0 to 50 inclusive. And so that's used all over combat. So basically you need that one command and you could write like simulations off of it. And we actually know exactly how it's implemented in Java. So pretty cool.
I think when I've been starting to do some simulations, but I'll probably talk about that a bit later. But I think I was using something like math.random, and then I put either int or floor.
Multiply.
And then multiply, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It uses math.random, so.
Oh, okay.
It's not the fastest random number generator for sure. Part of the engine upgrades that they've been doing recently they may have actually changed that to be a little bit more efficient, because it's probably like a factor of 3 that they can speed that up. And there's a lot of random in this game, you know.
I mean, it is an RNG game. We're a lot of records are at the point where it's like, who hits bigger when they play well.
Yeah, exactly. Clean run, hit big, wreck.
Yep. I think we'll move on then. All right, so let's talk about the top speedrun days and discuss. Well, you did say that you have made a return, so I guess that answers my question. But yeah, talk about the days of speedrunning Tob.
Yeah, so like Hoodler onboarded me onto like his team. I didn't really know about Camp Snoopy before then, but he invited me, and so it would be Pretz, and it would be Boring Name. He used to be a Bliv member, Boring Name, as well as Timo, Pretz, Boring Name, and Hoodler, and me. And the first time I raided, I was like having so much fun, like just 150 maiden. Like what the heck? I never even got like 210, you know, before. It was like 215 maybe was the PB with the old friends, but yeah, like instant sub 2 maiden, and then like the first record we got was like a 132 maiden, which was like a 8-second beat over the record that a lesson had. So that was so much fun, just doing speed runs and just coming up with like strats to make the raid go faster.
Yeah, because I remember I was watching like some of those videos of all the wrecks you guys were getting, like the bloat one. That was was interesting.
Yeah, we got bloat wreck, and we also got Zarpus wreck really quickly, and like it was like 3-minute Zarp, and that was really good for blowpipe. But and then like further down, like we would later make more optimizations, and we would also introduce Scythe. Like eventually after Pharaohs came out, it was better now to Scythe Maiden and Scythe Zarpus, and we were the first people to Scythe Zarpus, and we got a 252 Zarp, and that we were pretty much like unbeatable team because of that strategy. But yeah, so it was so much fun doing TOB speedruns and getting world record. We actually had, I think it was 4 1505s, and that was the record. We tied it like 4 times with ourselves.
Holy shit!
And then we had one day where we potted, and we were on this crazy pace, like pace for 1440 before the Zarpus changed. 1440, but then Genevieve died at P3.
Oh no.
So yeah, and honestly, the P3 wasn't very good. P1 was amazing, P2 was amazing, and then P3 was just not good, and Genevieve died on top of that, so it was sad.
Unfortunate. Yeah, like I think my introduction to speeds in general was top speed running with friends as well, because I think it was Mute Me, Jimmy, who just randomly messaged me, and at the time, I had one condition, because this was back when my boy Kirby was named Dark Lord 1. I said, all right, listen up. I will do these on the condition that me and Kirby can go. We were lucky that we had 2 spots open, so me and Kirby joined up on that, and then it was Brad, and then Propane. But obviously, Prab went AWOL. He just vanished.
Yeah.
So we had to swap him out for Toy, and that's how I met Toy. It was for that.
I see. Yeah. So
it was fun, but at the same time, I was a lot to learn, because I did not know a single thing about how Nilo worked, and now I kind of have an idea of how it works.
Yeah, it was actually funny. Like on that 1440 run, what would have been, we actually had a 255 waves, and that must have been the first 255 in the game. I had a plugin that tracked the times for waves and like when the next wave is spawning. So like that was like a really good run, and then Zarpus change happened, and then I don't know, like I kind of stopped doing TLB when plugins became more of a part of it and one down bloats, because to me that didn't just that just kind of ruined it all to me. Going for one-down bloats.
There was one thing I felt like would maybe make top speeds a bit better, at least in my eyes, but of course this is my opinion, so of course take it with a grain of salt. And that would have been if they changed the diary times from what was it, room times to total time, kind of like hard mode tab and ToA, and I guess Chambers, because Chambers is a giant total time rate, I guess.
Yes, I definitely agree. Like total time is more interesting than wave time, and to be honest, it was our kind of fault for making wave time like the popular thing to speedrun, because I remember like Cody like told me that we were just going for wave time and that's all we cared about. I'm like, sure, but turns out like that's fine for the time, but then when you consider like the amount of downtime that you might be needed for rec, like trading and binging and like who knows what, that makes it a lot more boring.
Yeah, I mean, before it wasn't really much of an issue because like early on it's like, okay, well there's not much of that going on, but now we've entered a stage where people are doing all these things. You got god booking, you've got trading PX over and trading runes and all this stuff in an attempt to try to maximize or make the runes the fastest, even if it means like the total raid time is a fucking hour long. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to say like trading is bad. I mean, there's some instances, like I think there's one instance in Chambers you could theoretically trade over some bolts at like Vasa before Vasa wakes up. Just have one guy run up to him and like trade bolts over. But having it be the main focus of speedruns just doesn't seem fun.
Yeah, exactly. So that's pretty much why I stopped doing TOB. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's kind of too late to change things because that's just everyone is just so accustomed to that as the time, just room times. But who knows? I felt like the Obliv Diary has so much power. If that were to happen, then you would see a lot of people going for total times instead of room times because there's so many people who are outside of Oblivion that always try to get their PBs to whatever the Oblivion Diary set to. And then some people go further than that, usually the people that specialize in their content, like, the Inferno people. But people from the outside, they'll just be like, alright, let's see if I can try to go for the sub 47.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? There is one question that is a little bit off the script, but I still feel like you could answer this pretty well. And I want to ask you, what is your thoughts on plugins as a whole kind of taking over the PvM scene? Well, of course, now we have a giant cheat client, which is RuneLite, but before then, like, when you had the Spoonlights and all those crazy plugins, like AoE indicators.
Yeah, no, I was completely, like, I hated that point in time. I just, with everything going on, like Jagex and RuneLite and all these client developers, I really didn't like where the game was headed. And I definitely liked the fact that Jagex finally took a stance and started actually banning people for using, non-official clients. But definitely helped out, like, with regards to, like, making the, what's it called, like, making it kind of more fair for everyone, where everyone could just download RuneLite, download things off the plugin hub, and get on the same level as others. But it's still, like, not the ideal way, because, like, you have Adam basically who is like approving plugin hub plugins, or Adam and the others. I don't really know exactly who, but it's pretty much their say in what gets approved or not, and you don't have any say. So we have these really OP plugins on the plugin hub, and then we have like all the mundane ones still. But at least it's more fair than it used to be.
Yeah, because we have a plugin that hides Nylos based on the total amount of XP drops done on it. That shares
exactly
party-wise.
That's so crazy. Like
we have Custom Swapper, which is I've been a big user of Custom Swapper, but that shit is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, the stuff that you can do with that plugin.
Yeah.
What else? I'm trying to think. There's some other plugins that are just.
I hate the ToA Kefri solver. Like
Oh,
it
the
just
puzzles.
turns the brain off for the whole thing.
Yeah.
And like anyone can do the same as anyone else. Like where's the fun in that? Like, oh, you don't have to play, you just click whatever the plugin tells you. What? How is that fun? I don't It ruins it to me.
It isn't even the most efficient solves, right? Because for the at
Yeah,
least the number
exactly.
one, I think
The number one.
the solves for there, I think are in TOA Discord, that like tells you, all right, go to the middle, and then from there just go here, 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 and that puts you closer to the
Yes.
exit.
Yeah, you could preemptively click on a tile, and without even needing any plugin, you can automatically solve it with very efficient speed. You don't even have to think for the first tick.
Yeah. Which surprises me because they were like, at first they were not okay with it, and then they eventually greenlighted the puzzle plugins.
Yeah,
Month
man.
in.
Like that puzzle plugin. It's just they were not okay with the other one. The other one just revealed the last puzzle, like all the tiles already. They revealed.
That was
That
so
was
broken.
even worse. And how is that allowed ever? But yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was telling people about it, but let's just say I may or may not have been as discreet as I should have been when I said back. I told people back up your files if you're gonna try it out, but people didn't back up their files, so a lot of people's RuneLight files got wiped out. The settings out properties in the bin, and I didn't have a backup for it either. They went straight to the RuneLight Discord and they're like, "Help! Help! Help!"
Yeah, I tried to talk to Adam about it, but he's probably not the easiest man to talk to sometimes. I used to know I've known him for what is it? 6 years now. And even though I've known him that long, he's still like really hard to talk to.
Would you say he's very stubborn?
Um he's just I don't know, I'd say he's just stressed out, needs to take it a little bit easier. I don't know. It's just a game. It's and like to be honest, like he can offload like a lot of the work to other people. He doesn't have to do like everything, you know.
I guess that's
I don't know.
fair.
Like nothing harsh on the man, like at all.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that's what you were going with, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like feeling overworked does not feel good.
Nope.
All right. Well, let's talk about Chambers speedrunning. So, what really got you interested from going from Tob straight into Chambers, and eventually paving some of the metas that we all know and love today for CMs and Chambers?
Yeah, so started out with Regs, doing like Tech Vesps and just going for like the 9-man rec, and back then it was like 11 minutes or something. So it was fun just getting that rec. We got it like 10:05 or something. Yeah, 10:05. But then as well as CM, I remember doing no prep trios with Nip and Pretz and sometimes Serenity. It was like Snoopy people, but it was a lot of fun just doing no prep trios. And eventually we did like trio CMs and 5-man CMs. And back then it was pretty much just avoid missing ticks and you get the wreck. Like there was nothing to it besides avoid missing ticks.
Yep. I feel like now
And
it's
then
like not only missing ticks, but like trying to maintain your stats as well.
yes, nowadays, yeah, definitely want to maintain stats. And I think I watched the old clip and I did a decent job of maintaining stats, but sometimes I would like triple brew, or sometimes I would have to brew a little bit before the 15 just to survive at Mystics or Ulm or whatever. But yeah, like back then it was super like what's it called, rudimentary strategies, and we got the wreck, and like it was a lot of fun getting twos, threes, and 5-man CM.
It also helped that nothing was really optimized either for those scales because there wasn't really anyone that was actively running or trying to like go fast here. It was just people would do the CMs for kits and, well, not really kits at the time, more like dust. But
Yeah,
eventually
exactly.
kits.
Yeah, it's pretty much just money raids. was the record back then. There was little to no resetting, pretty much. I guess like you kind of want a no anvil tecton, but that's about it. And then, but yeah, I think of like speedruns as like sort of this big cake, and like the early birds, get a good amount of cake just because they're early, and then but like think of TOB nowadays, like all the cake is pretty much gone and there's just crumbs left.
Yeah, it's
there's nothing left
crumbs
to discover. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know, it's like so much fun early on.
So what kind of got you into wanting to do prep in CMs?
That has to be from 4D days, I would say. So back in the original 4D, it was like Fossen and like me, Nip, and like Pahiz and like several others like Krego, and we would do like money raids together, just money raids after money raids. And I think eventually they needed a prepper, and so I'm like, you know what? Sure, I'll just go ahead. I didn't really want to prep, but I'm like, sure, I'll just give it a shot. And then that's where I kind of wanted to start implementing logout prep method. So that's how the prep method began. Just wanted to optimize the prep more, and like optimize instead of running from like prep to like VESP, you just die, and all you have to do is run from the floor to the prep, which is a lot shorter.
Yeah, and it made more sense to do it like that back then, especially because one, a longer Vanguard's room means more digs, and you're guaranteed to lose like somewhere around 6 seconds. And two, there was no spec weapon for Vesperla. Now we have CCBs, but at the time we didn't have any spec weapons for Vesperla, so you'd basically not be able to really use your spec, but you could use your spec at Vanguards.
Yeah, nowadays if you don't do logout prep, it's pretty much like you're pretty much running through the entire second floor, which is kind of silly.
Yeah.
Like by the time you make it, or I mean like maybe you can make it fast like last couple hits if you start out with prep, but it's kind of dumb. I don't know.
I feel like it doesn't make sense to do it when you're starting off as prep. I feel like you kind of have to do it because you're not going to do all the micro things of like perfectly cleaning and doing all this stuff to make sure you're not losing ticks during prep. So starting off, I say it's okay to do that, but eventually I always try to tell people if they're learning prep, you eventually have to learn how to do Vanguard Suicide.
Yeah, at the very minimum, you should at least like go up, run up yourself, like without dying, so you don't want to lose points. Well, at least then run up like at 30% or 20%. And go start prepping, because that would be more efficient.
Yeah, I think in my case though, I got interested in wanting to do prep because that seemed like the kind of hard, annoying job that not a lot of people wanted to do. So I was like, I guess I'll do it. And then eventually, when I started running CM5s, when we were first going for the diary time, it kept getting taken by Zolden, so I didn't really have an opportunity to do it. But once he got his time, I think you guys. We needed to reassemble the team. So this was when I had the opportunity to go with, I think it was like Noob Type, Flaw, Swift, and Toffee. I think that was the original team that got the diary. So I kept just continuing to improve my prep, doing runs with them.
Yeah, it's actually like prep is pretty cool because it's actually like a lot of muscle memory and a lot of like small little things you can do. Because if you mess like one thing up, it'll like completely might ruin it.
There's a lot of decision making. I feel like it's not so hard in the execution. It's just more the complex role. Because there's just a lot of things you need to think about when you're doing it. But once you've done it so many times, I feel like the execution for it isn't too bad. Of course, cleaning and picking at the same time can be a bit hard if you're trying to do like multiple herbs, but you don't even need to do that. You can do one herb at a time and be fine. This is all not slacking.
Yeah, honestly, to queue like to learn like picking and cleaning, all you have to do is just click the herb when you anticipate the next herb coming in your inventory. So click that herb when you anticipate it, and then click the patch instantly so that you don't lose a tick.
I think the only time I find it annoying is when I'm on good ping and it's low pop. Because then I'm so used to doing it on UK, So then it's fine on UK, but the second I go to US East and it's low pop, it's like, why am I not cleaning? What the fuck is going on?
Yes. They've done hardware upgrades to the servers as well as some software upgrades last week. And the servers are like so much better than they were before, like probably like 4x per player. Like it's always per player. Like the server always like the amount of delay is always proportional to the number of players that are on that server. But they've managed to decrease that factor by like 4.
It's crazy.
Yep. Huge props. Like I remember like Mod Arcane was asking how are the servers feeling, and he was happy to hear that we were enjoying them.
Yeah, I definitely felt them being better for some time. I don't know if it was like what was going on, but the UK ping went up to like 100 for me, and I was like, what's going on? It felt the same, but the ping just spiked up for some reason. And I don't know why.
I don't know, like something with their ISP, the routing messes up. I think that's like some sort of like DDoS prevention measure that's going wrong or something.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
But yeah, like the ping sometimes is the issue, but at least their servers are now like very responsive. It's amazing.
Would there be anything you'd like to change with how chamber speedrunning is, or are you completely happy with how things are?
Not really. I mean, at the moment, I kind of want to run like sort of like a go for potential run, where it's like you bring 5 Void Wakers and just CCB the Vasa and hope for no crystal.
Dude,
but
we ran that. I think it was like T-Bach, and then we ran that on stream, but it was 4 instead of 5 because at the time we were like, we don't know what the odds are, and on top of that, it seems kind of annoying trying to fit it on prep. What I do is bin the restore and just have them trade bolts right before Vasa wakes up. But when I looked at the odds, I don't know if this is correct or not because I'm new to doing sims. At first, okay, so I'll admit this. At first, my brain was set to ToA, and I put the number to 137 instead of 110. So my odds were like 30%. I was like, oh, this seems pretty good. And then I showed it to my friend. He's like, why does it say 137? I was like, oh. But now I think it was like 13% chance with 5 ZCBs, and then it was like 5.8% chance or something for 4 ZCBs. So I was even more shocked when we got it in the with the 4 ZCBs because I originally thought it was higher, but no, it was lower, much lower.
How many Vasa attempts did you get? Did you have to do for the no crystal?
So I think it was run 8. I think of us just doing it.
Okay.
It was all T-Box idea, and it's like we'll give it a shot because at worst, right, we'll have to do a couple extra hits on the crystal, but Vasa will come off the crystal with lower HP. I kind of wanted to adjust my sim as well to print out how much HP Vasa would have left to kind of give us an idea of, so how much of a difference would we have, like, HP-wise when Vasa comes off. I know that it's healing, I think 14 every 2 ticks? Because it looked like it was 2 ticks it heals.
Yeah, every 2 ticks.
It gets off like 2 heals before you actually hit it, so then it would just be like, just add more and more and more to it. But yeah,
honestly, like the 137 thing, I wish that the red carrots worked outside of ToA. Like that would completely change a lot of things, which would be fun.
It would add a new role. I feel like there's potential for them to add a lot of interesting play in the game. Because right now I feel like every person is kind of a DPS role. There's no tanks. There's just everyone's DPS. I mean, in CMs, right? We have people doing different gear.
Like Hammer, like Ink. Yeah. But other than that, it's pretty much, mostly the same.
And I still feel like there might be some potential to add some sort of buffs or something. I felt like it was kind of nice at ToA. It's kind of a locked environment, so you kind of play around with these new ideas and not completely change the whole game. Because to add something like Red Keyrus might just change everything. Maybe it wouldn't be super OP because obviously it's a spec weapon.
5-man plus is where it becomes useful, so it has to be team methods.
So it would be team methods. It would be really interesting to see something like that, or even different roles, but who knows what'll end up happening in the future. It seems like they're interested to add some cool stuff like that, being spec pots and red keys exist, but the question is when or if we'll ever get it outside of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let us move on. So let's talk about coding simulations and what kind of simulations have you created over the years?
Yeah, so I think the first idea for simulation was probably for the 9-mans we were doing for regular chambers. For odds of a no crystal Vasa, because back then it was only like 2/3 chance, and kind of want to optimize it, see how good the ring of recoil is, just to try and get no crystal Vasas more often.
Yeah.
And then later on, I did Versic simulations, so like P1 methods and P2 reds for like duo, and like as well as P3. So like, and still to this day, there's an anomaly at P3. I don't understand, but the simulation just does not match up with reality, because the simulation says you should finish P3 like by west almost always, like, or you should get some south finishes and like like east finishes during webs, So it predicts you're killing it way faster than currently. So there's still an anomaly there that I haven't figured out, but again, I left Todd years ago, so.
That is very strange. I'm trying to think, like, what could possibly be causing it, because it's not... You don't think Verzic's capping hits, do you?
I was thinking it was some sort of like regen effect. Like that it regens super fast, but I don't know.
Do you think that regen would apply to entry mode Verzic? So it would be like the same between entry and other ones? Because then you could maybe check and see. Otherwise, you'd have to like go into a team, hit it, and then just like see how long it takes to go back to 100%.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, should probably check entry mode and see how fast it regens. A lot easier to test things there.
Yeah. Because that's kind of interesting. I'm trying to like think what could possibly offset it, because obviously you're probably considering well, I want to think about it. I don't think there's really too much tick loss at all. There's not really too much tick loss if you're assuming it's gonna die before webs. It's more for like yellows. You have to like include the wait time for that, but that's more for like duos.
Right. Yeah, I mean P3 sim is kind of not incredibly useful, but it's still weird how it doesn't match up. But yeah, like Verzic P1 method was interesting because like the way scythe works on it is kind of weird. The way hits work, like there's two separate rolls and it takes the minimum of both rolls.
See,
pretty interesting. Yeah,
that was actually the first sim I ever did, and this was when I was just getting into coding. So this was back when I was in uni, and we had an art class where it was making art with code and processing. So I told myself, all right, you know what? I'll give it a shot, because my friend Mute Me was like, I think I have this cool method for P1. So I was like, all right, let's run it. And the kill odds did not match what was expected because it was much faster. So eventually, I think we had Caps Lock go look at it, and he said, you're not considering overkill. You're not including the fact there's the 2 rolls that are there and some other stuff. And I'm like, oh. So I learned a lot.
Yeah.
I learned a whole lot just from him telling me my sim was wrong. It was cool, because without that, I probably would have taken me longer to know about overkill and stuff. But it was still a good experience because I kind of liked it. But at the same time, it's like, what the fuck did he have to do that for Verzic? With the 2 rolls.
It was a lot of fun creating the original 5-man method with HiImSido, because we found a method for trio TLB super early, and that's how it allowed us to get like insane record Verzic by far. Like we got a 415 Verzic back in 2018, and like no one knew how we did it, but it was all the P1 method. But I think for 5-man and 4-man, the P1 is not so straightforward. Like, everyone calls it the HiImSido method, but me and him both worked on it, and I did simulations as well. But yeah, like, I mean, nowadays it's kind of not ideal because there's like 4 tick passes and there's like god booking and there's thralls nowadays as well. So you get faster P1s nowadays, but it was a lot of fun making those back then. And as well as simulating ones for other people. Like I remember Aki DMing me, asking like to simulate his methods, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, simulations are very useful tools because you might have an idea, but you're never kind of sure how it'll actually pan out until you actually run the sims. But then again, there's
Exactly.
always those very weird factors like the 2 roles or that mystery shit that's going on in Verzic P3 that no one knows about what's going on.
Yeah.
So I think they're definitely useful tools because I think what else have I seen? I think it was like Smork that was talking about Gauntlet Sims. So that kind of got me interested in trying to, just for fun, because I know there's already a sim for it, but just for fun to have something where you can input an amount of fish and then simulate what are the odds of you killing Hunlif and him killing you.
Yeah, that'd be a super useful one. I made a really simple gauntlet one, but and a couple miscellaneous ones for Inferno and boss CA speedrun tasks. So like new Zolra method and new Warcath method. I've already done the simulations for with the improved item. But I think the most work I put into simulations was for the solo CM Discord, right? So the odds of 1 Anvil Tecton using various gear, and the odds of 1 Crystal Vasa, as well as rope skip odds, survival odds. Like the rope skip one was so much fun to implement, and as well as there was changes, and me and Kirby and Port Kazar did his own, and I forget who else. There's one other person that worked with the new methods for rope skip. But that was so much fun to simulate because it involves so many game mechanics.
Yeah.
And then most recent one, which was probably my favorite discovery, was thieving. Because the thieving simulation told us that it's better to make more trips to the trough to continue dumping little by little than it is to have like a bunch in your inventory and then have it eat all those fat quicker, but reducing the amount of trips to the trough. So it told us it's better to dump more frequently, which was interesting because that also means it has a higher chance of regenerating, but somehow it's still better. So
That's interesting, huh?
Yep.
I wonder why that's the case in the sim, then. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it only eats like 1/7 or something. It only eats like 1/7 of whatever it's in its trough at a time. So I guess that's kind of slow relative to like the length of the room. So maybe that's why.
I guess.
I don't exactly know. I'm not really a big mathematician or anything like that. I like to program. That's all.
Yeah, true. I'm not crazy with math either. I was always okay with math, but I was never crazy with math. But I'm starting to get more into programming. Like I learned C# just to get a coding. Yeah. It's kind of like Java because I know a bit of Java because of the boot camp I've been taking. But I learned C# because this isn't really RuneScape, but I wanted to make a thing with a streamer that bot lets you put in C#. So I wanted to make something that would read API and it would tell me what song is currently playing because there's this thing called Web Scrobbler in Last.fm. So I was able to print out something in the stream whenever someone puts like !song. But I wanted to kind of have it where streamer.bot every 15 seconds is checking to see what song's playing. And if it's the same song, it does nothing. If it's a different song, then it prints out the current song.
I see. Yeah, C# is actually a lot of fun in my opinion. Like it has like a lot of features that make it fun to use. Like I think really good one is Link, language integrated something query, and it allows you to basically take any collection and like filter it or apply transformations to that collection, and then so it's like a one-line statement to get the items that you need that are So I don't know. C# is a pretty fun language, but it's not my favorite anymore.
I think the only thing I hated about it was that there was no like care at or something when I was fucking around with it.
Oh yeah.
I was like, what the hell? How does it not have this? I mean,
Well,
this is used to job.
C# does have operator overloading, and it does overload the operator square bracket that allows you to get the character at.
Yeah.
So it'd be like string I.
I think that's what I eventually did for it, but I was like, where is it? I was just so lost.
Yeah. I'm not a fan of operator overloading. That's one of the big reasons I don't like operator overloading anymore. I thought it was nifty, but it actually hinders everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I write all my simulations in pretty much C, but it's actually C++, just for const expr keyword. Which, have you ever used MS Visual Studio?
I am using Visual Studio, yeah.
Yeah, so in Visual Studio you can like hover over a symbol, and if it was compile time like const expr, then you could hover over that symbol and view its compile time value. So that's super handy for like calculating like max attack rolls, max hits and max defense rolls. All that compile time, because that's all compile time information. You don't really need to change that once you've generated those numbers at the start, unless you're changing defense or something. But that feature is like super handy, which is why I use C++.
Okay. That's good to know. Because I've only used like Java, C#, and then whatever the fuck we were using in that art class. And I think at the time I did a little bit of JavaScript. I only did JavaScript in I think it was December again, just to make something for a friend. Because having stuff kind of view, if I ever want to send something that people can just view it, it's nice to do it in HTML because I can just send them the file and then they can just open it on their computer, or I could stream it. Compared to showing them the console, because I think I'd have to learn a lot more to have it not show on the console and show on like a website. But yeah, I know it's a bit of a sidetrack, but it is kind of nice to see the effect that simulating has had on RuneScape, because it has helped us with seeing how ideal some of these crazy methods people come up with are, or just seeing like, go into Gauntlet, is this the amount of fish I should have or not? Stuff like that. Anyway, I guess we'll move on to the next question. So let's talk a little bit about 4D. So we can talk about the original server a little bit, how you got into that, and then eventually talking about 4D boosting that probably everybody knows about and what got you into that.
Yeah, so original 4D server was for CMs and regular chambers. I think I met Vossen through Camp Snoopy, but they were doing like money raids for kits, basically kits, dust, and just KCs. And I pretty much I'm like, you know what? Why don't I just join in for money raids? And like Nip was there, Piz was there, and a few friends were also there. So I just joined in. And so that was 4D, and we did a lot of money raids together and changed the meta a little bit, and including the logout prep method. So that was fun, but again, money raids. We weren't really speedrunning.
Yeah.
And then eventually, Boston had the idea. Well, I mean, we all had the idea where we could carry people for the CA task. It was like sub 25-minute 5-man CM and sub 27-minute trio CM, as well as the chamber ones. And we thought, you know what? We could carry people. Like we had people DMing us asking if they could get the task done with us, like mains, Ironmans, streamers, whoever. And we're like, this is kind of really annoying to go through DMs and stuff and come up with time to bot. So I think it was Boston who created the new Discord, 4D boosting. And me, Boston, and Lucid Dream have all expanded on that server, created guides, created the gear setups, and eventually Boston got banned. I think it was macroing or something. So he stopped playing and he passed ownership to me. But so it's mainly me and Lucid doing a lot of the work behind the scenes on the chamber side. Rookie has been doing a lot of the TOB side. But yeah, it's expanded a lot, and that's awesome. Like, we have almost 2,200 members now. We are, like, all of us like agree, if we just provide the best service possible and like schedule things timely, be polite to them, they're gonna recommend us to their friends, probably. So we just do our best, and that's how we get more customers. Yep.
I mean, you've got a good team, and yeah, I'd say like you're probably one of the most well-known servers out there when it comes to CA boosting. I felt like you guys kind of had like an early hold on it, because there really wasn't. I mean, I know there's service discords, but obviously not all of them were what's the word I'm thinking of? Terms of service compliant login jobs.
Exactly. Yep.
Which is never a good look. Obviously, people are going to do it anyway because some people just don't care. But it's also nice when you have that, don't have to log in at all. This is completely fine with the game. You're not going to get banned for it.
Yeah, literally just helping each other. It's no login service, completely within the rules, and yeah, I mean, we just do a good job. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know the amount of people that always come to me and say like, hey, can you do a kit thing for me? Or hey, can you get me my chambers times? And I'm like, no, that's not, I don't play the game to do that. I don't mind helping like some of my close friends from time to time. Good to do that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fun. But when people who I don't know just come into my chat and they're just like, you'll carry me, I'm like, no.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, man, like, my time is valued too. Like, I don't know, like, kind of have to set aside some time, like, to maybe, like, help your friends out. But, like, when you have to go all the way out of your way to help someone you don't even know out, that's kind of, like, too far.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I think there's been opportunities. Like when I was first starting to pot a lot of CM5s and I was getting better and better at it, it gave me an opportunity to meet some really cool people. Like really, really cool people. Like Mohani and some others. But there's also some people that just came for the diary and then they just vanished after that. And we weren't really too happy about that. And that's how I kind of feel like might be the case sometimes with CAs. But even then, I don't want to do CAs the whole time when I'm playing the game. I have other things I want to do. But occasionally I'll be like,
exactly.
I don't mind helping out the boys.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, so we started out too, like, we didn't really know if it was going to be successful. We thought it would die after like 2 months, but we charged fairly low, and like we started at like 3 months in to CA, so we thought we were late to the party, but turns out we weren't. Like, everyone needed a place to get their team tasks done.
Yeah.
Little did we know. We also like advertised in the Solucium disc, made an ad. So I think a lot of people joined through that. And Lucid also streams them a lot, so he gets a lot of new members from his streams. So that's kind of how we grew. We didn't really think we were going much anywhere, but look at us now.
I don't know. I felt like you guys kind of came in just at the right time. I mean, I know CAs have been out for a while, but I still felt like there were some people still struggling to get chambers times. And on top of that, I don't felt there's people who are as organized when it comes to trying to help out with chambers, unlike you guys who have mastered the craft.
Yep. And it's all for fun. Like, we try not to take it too seriously. Like, on the weekends, sometimes we've had like 3 or 4 weekends where it's just like crazy busy, like 6 hours plus, and it's just nobody wants to play that long doing carries, so it's just all in fun.
That's fair.
And make some good money in the process.
Yeah, because like at the end of the day, you don't want to turn it into a job, because if it turns into a job, then it's just like then you're not enjoying it.
Yeah.
So that's completely understandable. All right, so I guess we'll move on to the next question. So let's talk about last year's releases. So talk about Nex a bit, talk about Tombs of Muscat and what your thoughts are on those releases, as well as like kind of how those things kind of change the game.
Honestly, I think Nex was a lot of fun on release. Like, you can, like, there would be like 80-man masses, and I remember getting the record. It was like 46 seconds, and that was only because you could skip entire phases, and you could
Yeah.
you could bow, or like you could do damage past the proc threshold. Like, it would still go through the damage rather than being capped. That was a lot more fun than the way it's implemented now. But there was definitely a few things I didn't like about the boss, like that made it like jarring, or like, what's the word, like, mm, not the easiest to like. I don't know how to describe it, but and then when they changed it, all it became just wish wash. Hit the boss, take damage, like, and then the best skill to do it is duo, so kills are like 9 minutes long.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it got boring fast after
I
a bit.
think the issue is with one, it's what content we currently have, and then you compare Nex to the other bosses we've got. On top of the fact that it's a boss from RS2, so people are pretty familiar with it. And then two, the gameplay loop, because what you're basically doing is you're chugging brew, sipping restore, and then sipping whatever boost potion you sip, and then hit boss and solve mechanics as you
Hit
would.
boss, hit the minion, hit the boss, hit the
Yeah.
minion. Like,
And then on top of that, they also removed any cool strats to maybe bring the HP down a bit lower for the next phase.
yeah,
Which it sucks. I understand why, but maybe something they could have done to not completely nerf it is maybe change the threshold to, let's say, half of whatever the next HP is.
yeah.
That would have been a nice way of solving it, but masses still would have been fast. Even then, masses are always going to be fast, so I don't think there's anything they can really change about that. But I felt they should have at least did that, because then you could really come up with some cool stuff to maybe speed up blood phase a bit more. Like, okay, when shadow phase is about to end, you can send a ZCB, and not only does it help increase the odds of jumping on the minion, but you also do a lot of damage for the upcoming phase.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, how, like, there's a proc threshold to proc the minion, but also have like a cap, like, yeah, halfway between this minion and the next minion, where you can't hit it below. That would make it like a lot better.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think I've seen something similar on Akka, but Akka's a bit weird because
Mm-hmm.
travel distance, so then you can really bring it down from what would be 80% in like a solo to like, let's say 75 or even lower in a team.
Yeah, Akka has some really weird capping behavior. I don't really understand it, because
I believe it's because of so it's based on when you do the hit on it, it's calculating like basically your max and min based on its HP. So let's say 5 HP. If you can only hit a 5 maximum if you're in a solo. But in a team, the thing is there's so many hits coming in, and you're not hitting it on that 5. You're probably hitting it from like, let's say 100 HP before. So all those hits that are rolling from 1 to your max are coming in. So if anyone does a hit on whenever that HP check is on 5, then they're going to hit a 5. But it's not going to null out all those hits that are coming in.
But there is one weird thing, like, that hasn't explained. Like, say it's 81% in a team, like 8-man, so you can still hit like big. So say you get like a 400 XP drop, and then when you look at the hit spot, it's like a 2 sometimes, and it wouldn't go below the threshold much. There's something weird there.
Okay, that is strange.
Yeah, you'll hit a big XP, but the hit splat will be small. And it doesn't really make sense with the capping mechanics.
Might be some
with
weird.
the one we know.
Maybe it's like some weird tick or something that does a check as well, but I don't know. That's odd.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I felt like with Nex, it was kind of hard because, again, we also had Tob and Chambers in the game. And people are obviously going to compare what they consider the best PvM to all bosses in the game. because this is, I mean, it's not a raid boss, but it is like a group boss. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't help the case that it's also recycled content from RS2, and it didn't really feel too different. Not like there is much to change, but they could have probably spiced up a couple things on top of what's the word? Changing the whole cat thing. But who knows? Maybe with overloads coming in, it might help it a bit. But even then, it'll just be brew on 15-second simulator, and maybe you have to brew on you might have to brew at different times, like triple brew if you're getting absolutely rinsed. But yeah, I think that's just the gameplay loop of Nex is just chugging brews.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. Like, you're super inaccurate, and there is a melee method, but then you have to worry about getting meleeed, and it's I'm not a fan.
Yeah. There's not really much in this game where it's literally a brew simulator outside of maybe chambers and you get absolutely rinsed. But like if you look at Tob, and a lot of other pieces of content in the game, if you pray correctly, there might be a time where you might have to brew super combat. But other than that, it's not really a brew simulator. It's just, hit the boss and solve whatever the mechanics are for the boss fight, and you're good.
Yeah, like, I don't know, like, TOB, it's not about can you avoid the damage that's coming in randomly, right?
Yeah.
It's all like avoidable at TLB, and it's more about how can you use the ticks during the fight efficiently. How can you fight the boss efficiently at TLB, and while still avoiding damage that's coming in? Like, it's not that there's damage that's randomly coming in. There's it's all avoidable.
It's all avoidable. It's all planned. Like Maiden, you have people swapping tank or even heal other now because of all the runes people are bringing in. If they're bringing spellbook swap setups, they can also heal other, so they can do stuff there. And then obviously there's Soat, which it was kind of interesting. They changed Soat from its primary mage attack being able to do damage to not being able to do damage.
Yeah, I think that was a good change. Like, it really nerfed Soat, but just getting hit like 15 through prayer was kind of really annoying.
Yeah, I think it was capped at 25. It's like 50% of the max hit, which is 50.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, there are some skills like solo and duo where you get like random splats at Zarpus,
Oh, yeah.
where you have to lose ticks to avoid. But like, that's the type of mechanics I don't like, where there's like random stuff, because you have to lose ticks sometimes. Baba in Tombs of a Masquerade is probably like the biggest example. There's just random shit going on all over the floor, and yeah, good luck trying to not lose ticks at all. Here, it's just, I don't know. It's just not well made. I think it's not as well made as TLB.
Yeah, I mean, the Baba waves is just really random, and it's just really easy for you to like kind of hit stuff with the not correct style.
Yeah.
Sucks. That's one thing, and then I'm not a fan of how Baba is as a fight because all she's doing is just beating the shit out of you, and she hurts. She fucking hurts.
Yeah, beat the shit out of you. Spawn the little black timer thing that you have to dodge.
The slam.
You might have to lose ticks, as well as like if it's at the same time as it's throwing a boulder at you. It's like, what are you gonna do? Die or dodge it? Choose.
There's like, you can kind of plan for the slam. It's more annoying when you're in a really shit spot and you're beside the boulder and she does it. But those are times where you're either gonna lose ticks or
Yeah. Lose ticks or
sucks.
take like a 26 or something.
Yeah, but like for raid level 500, you're pretty much forced to red X, which seems kind of dumb, or do that yellow X method that Krusky's made. But
yeah, red X loses ticks. Yeah, and like also the boulder dash invocation is like really annoying because say you get a damaged boulder to the right, you can instantly get a damaged boulder all the way to the left and might not be able to make it through. You gotta wait another set of boulders, which is just boring. I don't know.
I think to make that not as bad, at least with Boulder Dash, is make it where the boulder goes either way, like one more to the side. So it could go like from the last spawn. It won't go like to the other side completely. It'll just like go one,
Yeah.
or the same.
Yeah. If it's one off, then it's fine. Because
Yeah.
we were doing 400 speedruns last night for the Obliv Diary. And we actually got the hang of Boulder Dash where it's just one apart. But when it's two apart, that's just lost and you have to wait
It's
another
so
set.
annoying.
Yeah, that's got it. I'm not a fan of that. Without Boulder Dash though, like with the boulders alone, those are pretty cool. I think you could like being able to blow pipe and just path correctly. That's pretty cool. But with Boulder Dash, it's not cool because of the two different things.
I think when before they updated the time when I ran with Pahi, he taught us all that, and I was like, wait, you could literally sit here, blow pipe, go to this town, and works. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's
simplify the
awesome.
shit out of it.
But,
I don't know.
yeah.
I felt like there were some really cool things that came with ToA, but at the same time, the skill ceiling is kind of low. And on top of with all the changes, because when they announced the whole invocation system, I was thinking that max invocation was gonna take forever to solve, like some solo top shit where people would really have to come up with stuff to be able to do it. No, that didn't end up being the case. It got done in like a month or two, and on top of that, noob type bug abuses to get 770 done. Like what?
Yeah, I'm not entirely a fan. You know what would be fun though? Like,
What?
Pretz suggested over and over and over again. Pot 8-man 600s.
I know there's some people that have been talking about it. I know Hisoka asked me to do it, but it's just like I've got too much shit I want to do. So who knows? Maybe I'll do it, but I don't know. I feel like I'm not good enough yet. I still need to get better.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like you can't beat the time invo, right? The 25 minutes.
You might be able to. You might be able
to.
Apparently, people say it's possible. I don't know what the odds are of it. And I'm not sure what. I guess I can have an idea of what the order would be for rooms, but at the same time, it's like I don't know. I want to say I believe him, but at the same time, I'm like, how is it gonna be done? Like, what kind of crazy shit do you have to come up with to be able to do it?
Yeah, I mean, like 4-man 400 is already like 21 minutes for a Obliv Diary. So think of like 8-man 400. That would probably be like 18, 19 minutes for a Obliv Diary. But then changing that to 600, that's just crazy talk. I don't know. And you have everything on too, yeah.
Medic wouldn't be too bad because you have so many people, but airstrike's gonna be kind of annoying. I guess everyone had to DD for that. But Akka seems kind of spooky. Warden Insanity or the final phase is gonna be kind of spooky. And then you also have the one that drains your specs. You wouldn't have DDS, and you'd only get like 2 red Kirises. So I'm guessing you'd have to assume for the best, and no one would yellow Kiris at all. Everyone would just red Kiris and dump CCBs and hope that that bitch gets fucking destroyed before they go down to the last row.
Oh, you know what's the game breaker though?
What?
Quiet prayers. Like, man, that invo is so shit. Like, I don't know if you're gonna be able to do it. Because you have to survive P3 with no Ambro. All you have is Karis, yellow Karis to hit a couple skulls. Hopefully you have PID, you know? That's all you have.
Oh boy.
But you take so much chip damage. You know? You take so much chip damage from the Zebak that I don't know if it's possible just because of P3. Like, you need HP. You don't have bruise.
You might be
able to... You don't have much healing.
You might be able to do something where everyone gets their own skull, but the only problem with that is then it might be slightly slower for like solving skulls. But then again, you guarantee people get HP. But then again, it's only one skull, and that's not going to offset all the damage you're taking from Zebak or Akka. I'm not sure which one they're going to end up going with. Probably Zebak.
Yeah, man, I don't see how at the moment how that would be possible just because of the damage.
That's what I have to say.
Like, it's already pretty hard in 4-man to do dehydration. 4-man 400 because you have to be really careful. You can't take damage from like anything. Just the chip damage, and even that is like cutting it close in 400. So
I guess we'll see, but I think we also spoke about earlier, Red Curious and Spec Pod and other stuff. It would be kind of nice if they expanded that a bit more and took that out from that raid and like applied it to other stuff, or maybe even seeing it in the main game. But Spec Pod is a little bit OP. I'm a bit scared of that.
oh yeah, I mean yeah, Yellow Curious spec would help for sure, but obviously.
Oh yeah, Yellow Curious would be a little strong.
But I mean, still 6-man or 8-man 600 would be crazy to beat in time.
Guess we'll end up seeing if when people actually start attempting it, if there's even a shot, or if this is just something that we'll have to see in the future.
Pipe dream or
Yeah.
whatever.
I guess we'll see. Alright, so we'll move on from there. We can talk about what we've gotten so far this year. So, we've got the Wilderness, and we've got Muspah. So, what are your thoughts on those content releases so far?
Starting with Muspah, like I don't know, it was a pretty nice money boss. Like in my eyes, it was much cooler than Hydra, and it's like pretty cool alternative to both Forkath and Zulrah. Like really change things up. It requires a lot of attention though, and unfortunately, yeah, it's a money boss except without the money. Like you don't really make much money at Muspah, do you? Like it's pretty poor GP an hour compared to the other ones. But what's it called? The upgraded heart is really nice at least. As far as the wildy bosses, I haven't really done them much, but they seem pretty wish-wash. I don't know, like same old crap mechanics as what we saw in ToA, where you have to like dodge the floor damage or run around, dodge the damage. It's kind of like leaves very little room for creativity, which is what makes it fun. And but the rewards are amazing, like the Void Waker. I think that's a really cool item. Yeah, and better crossbow, stuff like that.
Yeah, because the thing with Void Waker was that it's interesting because you have something that's 100% accuracy. That's one thing. And then it rolls 50% to 150% of your max. So it kind of opens the door for a new spec weapon that kind of fills its own niche. Because you have claws that sometimes it'll outperform the Void Waker when the defense is lower. Like at top, right? Top, yeah. It seems like claws are just king. But at ToA, this is pretty good. And now you have this option at Chambers, because at first, I completely shit on it when I thought about it at Chambers, because it's bad at Voss Crystal, it's bad at Tecton, bad at Old Melee Hand. So I instantly rolled it out. But I didn't think of the fact that people can just use it for Vanguards and just poke it at Voss Crystal for the 13%, at least in 5-mans, 13% zero crystal Vasa.
Yeah, it would actually be crazy if it was good at Tech, Olm Hand, and Vasa Crystal. Like, that would be amazing, but...
yeah, it would have been game-changing. Chambers.
Yeah, I mean, they're invulnerable to mage, but what's interesting about the Void Waker is you always have to think, what's better, Void Waker or Claws? And there's, like, 3 things to consider, like, Void Waker has no accuracy roll, so you can hit like a, what's it called? Baboon Shaman, for example. It billion slash defense, but it's still, or mage defense, whatever. But it still like hits huge on that thing. But you also have to consider like overkill tick. You're not going to get any overkill tick with Void Waker.
Unless you have a Thrall. Unless you have a Thrall.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Claws has a better chance of guaranteeing that overkill tick. And also, Claws has, like the way its damage works is it's a lot more probable to do like 40-ish damage than Void Waker is ever going to be. Like, for example, Parasite at Nightmare, Claws are going to be way better for Parasite than Void Waker is, just because it's much more likely to kill it than Void Waker. So there are a few things to keep in mind when considering Void Waker versus Claws, and even though Claws is generally better on lower defense.
That is true, because honestly, I didn't really know how claws really worked until I like took a second look at the wiki, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Where it does like for the first hit, it's like half of the max to like the actual max -1, and then what it does based on did the first hit win the accuracy roll or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't really know too much about that until I took a second glance. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
okay, this makes more sense. And now it makes sense why it's considered that weapon that, on average, does the job.
Yep. It does like roll after roll after roll after roll. 4 different rolls.
It doesn't have increased accuracy, though. It's just like whatever its normal hit is, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I wasn't sure about that. Wiki didn't say anything, so I just assumed it was the same accuracy for every single hit. But even then, just having those 4 chances, oof.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the nice thing about Muspah was it introduced some kind of cool stuff, because never would I thought that we'd be using Smite against the boss.
Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, very unique. At first, when I did the quest boss, I was just like, I don't know how to defeat this part, so I kind of just waited for it to go down because it like smites itself over time.
Yeah.
So I kind of just, but I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. You have to smite the boss. Like, you have all these different smite items now, as well.
Yeah, it made a use for sap firebolts of all things. I wasn't expecting sap firebolts to be good on the boss, so that was really cool that they decided to do that.
Yeah. So I just sent you the image of how claws work. That's a great explanation by Modash.
Attempt 1. If this succeeds, you will deal a total damage between 100% and 200% of your max hit, spread across 4 splats. The damage is divided in the ratio 4:1:1. The 4th splat gets +1 damage for variety. And then attempt 2. Oh. Huh. I wonder why the wiki said something like, it subtracts 1 off of your max hit or something.
It does. In a way, it does, yeah. Like when he says damage between 75 and 175, that's excluding the maximum number.
Okay.
So definitely does. And then it gets added on later for the 4th splat, basically. Kind of a weird way. It's not exactly like the way to think about it, but yeah. 4 attempts, and first one is 100 to 200%. Next one's 75 to 175. Next one's 50 to 150, and then the last one's 25% to 125% of your max hit. Yeah.
And I also like the fact that it adds that 1 hit splat for variety.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
Variety is fun, like, generally.
I mean, true. It's never a bad thing to add a little bit of variety, but it's like, it's 1 damage. Sometimes that 1 damage, you never know. That 1 damage might be the make it or break it if you kill something, so who knows? Having those, the extra damage helps. But, yeah. It kind of got me a little bit hyped to see what they end up doing for the next couple of bosses for D2. I guess that means we should probably move on, because I think that's the next question. Yes, it is. So I guess we can start talking about what your hopes are for Desert Treasure 2, as well as the new prayer book that they're proposing and the new gear.
Well, honestly, like, I always say this, but I hope that the bosses don't involve all sorts of just RNG, dodge this, dodge that mechanics. That's been happening for the last like 3 years. I hope it allows for a lot of creativity. A lot like good usage of ticks. Ticks, like, the better you utilize the ticks, the more efficient your kills are. But who knows? Like, it's been a while. But I do think that some of the rewards are very good ideas. Like, we definitely need new rings. Like, we've had the same B ring, sort of like brimstone ring, kind of like boring rings for ages. 2014, 2013. So definitely, like, a new mage ring would be amazing. They give like mage strength or some special ability.
Yeah, because...
And then,
Oh, sorry.
yeah. Oh, no, go on.
I was going to say, right now, the ring metas before, it used to be, you could use rings like Seer's and Archie's ring, but those are primarily in situations you know you're camping one style. But then you had Brimstone come in, and then you have Berserker. Those are like your two options when it came to stuff like Chambers or Tob. But of course, Tob is mostly Berserker ring. So that was the dominant ring for so long, up until Lightbeer came in. But even then, it feels like that is just your go-to option. It's like you gotta have your Lightbear, your Berserker ring, or your Brimstone, and nothing else. The other rings are kind of just useless. So it is kind of nice to see that those rings are kind of getting some more love, and we have new rings that we can use for something that maybe gives us range strength, or something that gives us mage strength. Especially mage. I feel like mage has always been kind of lacking.
Yes, exactly. Mage. Mage ring has been in my mind since like 2019 or something. Like this thing needs upgrade. Like Brimstone didn't cut it really for mage. It's like not even better than Seer's on average. But yeah, new rings are good. And also, I read like about a new halberd they're proposing, and I think that would really be pretty cool, because if we have like an actual strong halberd that you could just, do regular attacks with, not a special attack, then it could be super interesting and might change a few things. For example, like fight caves, you might be able to do melee fight caves and use that halberd to hit things one tick sooner by pathing to them. Yeah. And like I don't know, like Nilo, you might be able to do melee roll a little bit more efficient. Although, like, that's probably not very big, but I mean, just thinking about things like that, like an item that you can attack from one tick further away, melee, that's just like super niche but super cool. And then, yeah, I don't know, like a new prayer book would be just amazing. Like I remember Ancient Curses, it had all sorts of cool prayers you can use. And yeah, what are your thoughts on the prayer book?
So the only scary thing is that if they add a new prayer book, at least in RX3 they ended up adding like a rigor and augury equivalent, and they buffed it even more. So that's basically your go-to prayer book. So I don't know if I'd want something that's directly like super strong. Maybe something that has the potential of being strong, but not just downright. This shit is completely better. Old one, got like out of here. Get the fuck out of here, because then that just kind of shuts on augury and mostly rigor, because augury is kind of dog shit. Let's be real. But here are my thoughts. I kind of wanted to have something that has the potential of being stronger, in the sense that it's a ramp up. So similar to Turmoil, but instead of it just one hit, boom, you got your boost. It's over time. You turn the prayer on, you get into combat, and it slowly but surely ramps up to a bonus that is stronger than what we currently have. So that would kind of promote combat. It would kind of promote like being in combo with something for a long time. But the only downside of that would be it wouldn't be as good if you're swapping between different styles. So it would just be a new kind of way of thinking. And then they also mentioned that thing with having prayers not protect completely. So it would only protect up to 90% instead of the full thing. And if they were going to do something like that, I feel like they need to have some form of sustain. Because yes, there's Blood Fear, yes, there's Blood Barrage, and there's Blowpipe specs. But outside of like melee, because melee I think is the only thing that has like a really consistent way of sustain, and you're not losing too much DPS doing it, mage and range kind of get shafted a bit. So they would have to have some form of soul split or something, even if it's like slightly nerfed for chins and barrage, because just imagine barrage and soul split combined, woo, you'd be healing so much. So they'd have to have some form of cap of how much you could heal off of it. So
yeah,
that's kind of the idea I have, is something that has the potential of being stronger and still having like a kind of something different, because right now you can kind of just swap between a lot of prayers and you don't really lose much benefit out of it. But that's just my 2 cents on it. Not sure how I feel about that thing they said where they didn't want it to be as flick heavy. Because, I mean, a lot of people promote flicking and say flicking is good, but I don't know. I guess we'll have to see what they end up pitching, but that's just some ideas that I had for it.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, they in the blog they don't really want you to one tick flick these prayers. They if you have it on for a tick, they want your prayer to drain for that tick, which is probably how it should be.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how like they mention like how much backlash they got like from two different sides of the community. Like, oh, we love this. Oh, we don't like this. Like, because think of one tick flicking. You can have one prayer point, and as long as you put in so much effort, you can kill whatever it is with that one prayer point.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of cool because it takes a lot of effort to pull off. Like solo CM, for example, right? If you're very low on prayer and you just whip out the one tick flick, strats.
Oh yeah, it's tough, but it's doable. It really helps you when you have that enhance going. You can really extend the power of the enhance that way.
Reminds me of Zoda Yoda. And Zoda. Always permanently like low prayer and low HP. But yeah, he was pretty good at flicking anyways, so.
I can kind of see both sides to it though, where some people don't want to arthritis flick, and then there's some people are like, yes, let me continue flicking. I think maybe having that balance of maybe there should be some stuff that you can flick with some benefit, but maybe have some stuff where you kind of need to have it on to sustain the benefits. I still remember it had that proposition for that prayer judgment. Back in what was it? Back in the days of Tob, when they had that first blog post, and they had the judgment prayer scroll, where it's like 1/6 of the damage you do with the overhead on, it would take off your prayer points, and that would be, I guess, one way of implementing a prayer that requires you to use prayer, because otherwise it'd be kind of OP if you just flicked it whenever you spect or whenever you do hits, and you lose like nothing at all.
Yeah.
So, kind of curious to see how they go about it. So I'm really hoping to see some more information, because my interest has been piqued, but not sure how long, because I know we got other stuff that's coming up. Like, what is it? I don't know. When are we gonna have Bounty Hunter? Because I remember they mentioned Bounty Hunter, but I'm not sure when that's coming out.
Who knows? There's been so many wieldy updates that they've done in the past couple of years. I just haven't kept up with any of it. Like, there's been so many changes, and I don't even know what the heck's going on in the wilderness anymore.
I mean, that's fair.
I'm not a PvPer, obviously. I don't know. I loved LMS when it came out. I got decent at that, but outside of that, it's just too much going on. I don't know.
I mean, that's fair. It's the thing that's nice is the stuff that comes out of it, like Void Waker. But outside of that, who cares?
Oh yeah. Void Waker plus Claws combination in the Woody nowadays. Oh man, crazy.
I remember as well when they were talking about VLS coming in as well. I was also thinking about like its applications that could have as a spec weapon in PvM. But obviously, it ended up not passing, so then they had to sneak it in, and on top of that, make it only for, was it PvP worlds, or was it Bounty Hunter? I don't remember where it was to that.
I don't even know.
Yeah,
I mean, VLS is such a nice item. And as well as Stadius Warhammer, man. Dragon Warhammer needs to go. Like, it's a tier 60 weapon, man, in 2023. And that's our best defense reduction item. You know Stadius Warhammer? It's like 35% spec, and it's like way more accurate and way more powerful, and it's 5 tick on top of everything.
Actually,
how good is that? Yeah.
What the fuck?
So I wish we had like Stadius Warhammer, and yeah, VLS would be awesome too.
I mean, it's not too late to have more items like that come into the game, but I'm not sure if this is the new boss coming in DT2, if that's the place to present them. Who knows? I mean, we got Claws. That's also a tier 60, but it comes from a raid. So I guess it makes sense that it's very strong. Meanwhile, the Dragon Warhammer is a 1 in 5k that comes from a shaman.
Yeah.
So, guess it makes sense to have a better spec weapon come out, or at least like some sort of attachment to buff it up. Who knows? But They also talked about Virtus as well, and how they wanted it to not be the best in slot mage setup, so not better than Ancestral, but when it comes to Ancestral, or not so, Ancient Spellbook, they wanted it to be better for it.
Yeah, I mean, depends how much better, right? Because if we're planning on switching to Virtus, then there has to be something really good in the Ancient Spellbook, you know? Yeah, like it's not gonna just replace Shadow, you know? It, at Chambers of Xeric, for example, like Mei-Chan, like I don't see how it could beat Shadow, but maybe for PvP it could be crazy useful, the Virtus.
Probably PvP. The only thing I could really see it being good for PvM is if they add some sort of debuffs that you really want to capitalize on, then you'd have like one person running Virtus, probably. But outside of that, I can't really think of any other way for it to be good outside of like flat stat bonuses. But who knows? Maybe they'll think of something. But I don't know. I just feel like it'll
Yeah.
be PvP tied like the last time they tried to pitch it, and then people were not happy because they're like, "Oh, so we're getting this. We're getting this from the only PvM release we've gotten in a while." Okay, this is fine. Not fine.
Yeah, doesn't seem super exciting for PvM, really.
Yeah, I guess only real exciting thing is going to be the prayer book, but it all depends what they end
Yeah.
up doing for it.
Yeah. Prayer book and perhaps the new weapons they're creating. Like the halberd and the ring, of course.
And the rings.
Yeah. Who knows?
Watch them fucking combine all the rings together for a fucking super ring.
Pretty much.
Alright, so let's move on to the last question that we've got, which is, are you kind of happy with how the metas have shifted with the current new gear that we have? So, the ZCB, and just all the other stuff that's come out so far. ZCB Voidwaker.
At first I didn't like CCP at all because it used so much spec for what it does. But now that we have Lightbearer, it's actually pretty cool. I think CCP, like for team content especially, like you're pretty much going to hit 110 at like Vest Portal or 137 at ToA in team. So those are like, it's super good DPS, and Lightbearer allows you to actually use it, and so I think that's pretty cool. But I'm not a fan at all of thralls. Thralls are just this boring little thing that attack every 4 ticks, that add hit splats, that make sounds, that add themselves to the scene, so you have to look at them, and on top of that they like prioritize like their options over everything else that's under them. So like it's a bug. So you have to like hide them.
You have to use a plugin to entity hide them.
Exactly. You have to use a plugin so you can push the jug that it's on top of at Zebak, you know? So I'm not at all a fan of thralls. Honestly, like I think summoning would be pretty cool personally. But only if it weren't for gathering charms, because that would be a nightmare trying to like find a place to gather charms, because everything's going to be crowded.
Oh man, everything's gonna be turbo crowded unless there's like instances where you can go kill stuff and then get charms that way. It's gonna be turbo crowded.
Yeah, but I think summoning has a lot of like ideas baked into it, so I don't know. It might be the future, personally.
I mean, we do have the new skill coming out, so that might be an opportunity to maybe think of something like summoning. But I don't know. There's a lot of directions they can kind of go with it.
Yeah, and then for solo CM as well, I'm not happy with the way it's shifted. Where it's kind of like the shadow kind of requires you to have more food because you don't get healing.
Yeah.
Which I haven't done much solo CM, but it doesn't sound very fun to do money raids anymore. You kind of want to run Surge Thrall, which requires you to reset more tectons to get a 1 anvil. I'm not a fan. It kind of ruins solo CM for me.
Yeah.
The ToA stuff.
Because like right now, you could potentially still do money runs, but the problem is that it's not going to be as fast as what the current meta is right now.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not fun. loading up all, avenging yourself, resetting the Tecton 7 times, finally get it, and then missing the hammers at ice, and then like you only have a limit of 5 spellbook swaps per day. Like this, I don't like that.
I've never been too happy with that either. That you're limited to the amount of resets you have, so that sucks. I'm wondering if they could just improve it with either make it where in instances you don't have it like take charges, or make it like a Grandmaster reward, or just anything. Because it's just, I don't know, it sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah, I don't like the whole idea of swapping spellbooks. Like even the spell itself. The spell itself is really annoying because of the stall that it has. You can't do anything for the next 4 ticks. Your inputs are discarded. So solo sim it kind of ruined for me. And another point to add for thralls is that there's nothing to it. All you have to do is remember to spawn the thrall. It doesn't add anything creative to the fight.
Have 3 thralls. I'll do the same thing, except for the style of damage, which only matters in a few places.
Yeah. It's kind of silly, man. There's like 9 different thrall spells, and there's only 3 you'd use, and out of those 3, there's only 1 you use 90% of the time, the Mage Thrall.
It's the Mage Thrall. Yep, it's always the Mage Thrall.
Yep.
I don't know, I thought it was kind of cool at first, but then you kind of like look at it where it's just spawn, like as you said, you just spawn a dude every 1 to 2 minutes, and he just sits there and does a 0 to 3 roll. That's
it's just boring. I don't know. Like you don't control it either. Like all you can do is respawn it, and it takes time to warm up.
Yeah, mind of its own. And if you spawn it too far away from the NPC, guy's literally fucking having a smoke break in the back. Just sits there like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly. I honestly kind of like the old way that thralls worked, where they kind of like they path to a spot that was close to the NPC rather than you actually calculating a path toward the NPC. Because it kind of when it's calculating a path toward the NPC, that's not considering its attack range at all. Like it's only considering like melee distance, right?
Yeah.
If it's a mage thrall, even though it can potentially walk closer to the NPC and start maging it, it's gonna walk all the way around and then start maging it. You can't control that anymore. So kind of like the old way that they worked. Like if the new way of pathing made them consider their attack range, then that would be pretty cool.
I wonder why they didn't do it like that then. Maybe if it's just like extra work on the...
It's the same as player pathing. Like player pathing does not consider your... It's technically called app range. So it doesn't consider your app range, but they could modify the...
You're right. Okay, now when you say it like that, it makes a lot more sense, because when you try to attack something, it'll path you around unless you're in range. Oh.
Yeah, like think of Tightrope Ranger, for example. You like go around in a circle and finally like shoot it.
Yeah.
Instead of just moving 1 square toward it.
Bruh, that shit's so annoying.
But they could totally edit their BFS Pathfinder to consider app range. But there might be other implications that would kind of break. And it's probably a hassle for them.
Probably.
The whole game was made, in 2001, and it was rapidly growing, and tight deadlines, and all these crazy features were added to the engine, and it's not perfectly, what's it called? It's not like a perfectly written engine, right? There's bugs, and that's what makes it fun, all the quirks about the engine and quirks. But like they didn't really consider app range in the pathfinding, so.
Well, the nice thing about the bugs, I think this is the term that Xeric uses, is the emergent gameplay that comes out of it, because with all these bugs, you can really find some really cool and crazy shit that no one would have ever considered, like killing Zuck with Venge only and living, because you're abusing the fact that if you, using like P-Nex and getting hit on the same tick that your HP hits 0, to kill the death queue.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, PNEC like clears your it's called there's a procedure they have, proc that they have, it's called combat clear queue. And that like takes your main queue and finds everything related to combat and deletes it from the queue. So it clears damage, it clears death, it clears a couple other things. And yeah, so PNEC is super OP because of that. It just clears everything. So that's why it's like really good at load and stuff like that. And it allows you to clear death. And I think Pork did really cool stuff with that at Zuck, where he just cleared the death every time Zuck shot him.
Yeah, because he lines it up on the tick that I think it was the major hits him, or the majors hit him, so he always has like all those extra hits coming in.
Yep. And that allows for super creative stuff. And I think like one thing that's really fun is using the tick model that we've came up with in the summit. You know, you could figure out like different ways of tick eating and different ways of avoiding death. And that's what's really fun.
Yeah. I think the oddest thing that I found was when I was testing out the molten rock cake for the first time. Something weird happened when I tested it on the Siren boss, and I died.
Huh. Molten rock cake. Oh, like the orange one.
Yeah, the one that you have to, when you try to bite into it with no gloves on, you just like start fucking playing hopscotch with it. I had it on the ground. Because that is a way to get around the issue where when you have a locator orb or rock cake and you try to bite into it, but you have like someone to queue in an attack, you can still use it if it's on the ground. The only thing you need to make sure is that you have, I think it's like 2 or 3, I think it's 3 HP, because when it's on the ground, you try to pick it up, it has the same behavior as if you're biting into it and not guzzling. But, the one thing that was odd was when I went to go pick it up, I had a PNEC on. There were some instances with like other NPCs I would live if a big hit comes in, like let's say like a triple jet or something. But when it came to Siren, no, that bitch nuked me. You should have nuked me.
I see.
So I'm not sure if it's because it prioritizes that attack in the queue or not. Weird.
I'd have to look into that, I guess. I don't know a whole lot about Siren. I know it does like a big attack, but yeah, and like I think people use like Cave Nightshade, yeah, to proc the PNEC or whatever, but not too familiar.
I think it's either that or they could use Zami Brew, because if you you proc the Zami Brew when the projectile's in the air, that seems to null it. But if you try to use like a stall that would normally proc it, it doesn't seem to null the attack. It seems the attack happens first, and then the damage from whatever you tried to pick up happens afterwards. So I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, it's just fun, like figuring out game mechanics. Like, again, players, NPCs, controllers, and then the world queue, and then like figuring out like how like objects and doors spawn, despawn, change, and how like scripting ties into all of that. It's so much fun to learn.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I've had a lot of fun trying out some of those crazy methods. Usually I always do them for entertainment purposes, but at the same time it's always cool coming up with stupid questions as to, well, I guess in terms of high-risk TOB, the idea I had with all that stuff was trying to put on an entertaining show because I had no interest in winning. But I want to come up with some really stupid mechanics that would really fuck with people. Like, freezing the crabs at Verzik and then watching them unfreeze because I used Ice Rush. Stuff like that, or counters to some stuff I know people would try to do, because I think my two main concerns was how would I survive the maze if the person tried to hit me with the tornado at the end, or tried to step on tiles at the end, which was why I fought a spellbook swap. And then, in the case of ToA, how would I survive death balls if the balls are off-ticked? Because what people do is, they use Locator Orb, bring their HP down to 1, and they usually have the orb same-ticked. But you can't do that because you cannot set that state when you have 8 other people who are fucking around. So I had to think of a way to put both of those balls into like one kind of hit splat, and that was with the Molten Rock Kick stall. because it
I
extends.
see.
It's a long ass stall, so I knew it was gonna work, and it had a very the word, a lot of room for error because of how long of a stall it is. So when Port showed me that stall, I went straight to entering the ToA, and I was like, let's do this, and it worked, and I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, that's one thing that's becoming super scarce nowadays is different stalls. Like the moment like we start using new stalls, Jagex like wants to just remove it, and it's kind of sad because that removes these fun methods. Do you remember the soap maze skip? Like
Yeah,
way back in the day? Yeah, I mean, it's just ruined. I thought that was pretty cool, but
there's another way of doing it, but it's not public right now. You probably know about it, but
uh,
when I found out about how they do it, it's so fucking dumb, the shit that people come up with, but it's also interesting that it works, because I think right now it still works. I hadn't done the method, but still. People will always find creative stuff, but we're at a point where it's like, people don't want to leak it, because they know Jagex is just going to patch it, because they're like, we don't want this. But let's be real, right? Who is actually going to be using these methods in like an actual standpoint? No one, because they're
right.
not time
It's just a
efficient.
fun thing for speedruns, really.
Not necessarily speedruns, but also just like dumb shit too. Because I don't know if you could really use it
Oh
in a
yeah.
speedrun sense. Because maybe
Oh,
you
true.
can, but I don't know.
Might need inventory space that's not worth it or something like that.
Yeah, I'll DM it to you. But
Sure. But yeah, like another thing that's like sad is like there's not much crazy methods for 5-man CMs, unfortunately, or like CMs like where you can use stalls or like um crazy mechanics to your advantage. Like other than rope skip, rope skip's probably the main thing, and just generally like tick eating, but that's pretty easy by comparison. Like
yeah,
I was sad that remember when I went into lab about like trying to get consistent 46 crabs or 44 crabs, I think it was. I
yeah,
don't remember.
I remember you told
Or
me about
maybe
that.
it was 45 crabs, but either way, there's actually just, like no method that you can use to get the 45 crabs because what I had in mind was to move one square further in a tick, so 3 tiles in one tick, using like either fire making or some other means of moving during input while still running on that same tick. However, uh, fire making doesn't work because there's a stall and you have to change directions as well. Fire making doesn't work, and then uh, what's it called? Like hunter traps also don't work. But you know why? It's because they're blocked. It says it says you cannot place this in chambers of Xeric or something. It was gonna be
Yeah.
the way to get it,
Oh
the
man.
45 crabs, but
Because if you try to enter something, typically you can't actually enter it, but there are some instances, like I remember when I used Venge to get past everyone else on my team when like Guardians ended. So I was able to get in the Vasa
oh
sooner.
yeah,
So is that what you were talking about?
yes, something sort of like akin to that,
Okay.
like venging on that same tick. Although like you couldn't use that for crabs because the door opens before client input, which is unlike the way that the Vasa door opens. So it would be the same thing, same way whether you did the Venge Other or did it manually at Tecton, unfortunately. But yeah, the Vasa thing is cool, but unfortunately it doesn't save any time because
Yeah.
Vasa spawns on the same 4-tick cycle as the door opens, and
Yeah.
unfortunately it just doesn't line up properly. But yeah, it's just sad that they have to block so much stuff and patch a lot of stuff and what's it called like we were gonna use like hunter kit spell to get a trap and use that trap to steal a tick, but nope.
What that kind of interests me. I'm kind of curious. Like, what is their first-hand reaction when they see some of these like really odd ways of doing things that might not be the most conventional, or it's also kind of like circumventing some of the mechanics of bosses. Like, when they had all those different ways of getting away from Bossa when you're teleported in. I mean, I know there's the rock, right? So you could just hard stall it like that. But
Yeah.
outside of that, if you get teleported, there's still ways to get away from the boss, which I thought it was cool. But obviously, you saw that got patched. So I'm like kind of curious, like what are their thoughts when people come up with some kind of cool. I don't want to say it's harmful. I feel like it's for the most part harmless stuff. It's mostly harmless.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I don't know. It seems pretty random what they decide to patch or leave in.
yeah, because I always see some of those videos of like when developers watch people speedrun their game, and they see some of like the fucking bugs that come out of it. Like I think with Doom Eternal, when the developers saw that and they saw like I think the guy like fucking flew through the map or something. It's always cool to see them be like, "What the fuck? They can do that?" And they don't patch it. They leave it as is. But then we've got Jagex like, "Oh no, let's patch this." Now people can run across Soap Maze without taking damage, which is I don't know. It kind of sucks because it takes away from the emergent part of coming up with really
Yeah.
quirky, stupid, but cool methods.
Yeah. Unlucky.
I'm not sure if that philosophy is gonna change because like we kind of saw it again at ToA where they almost pulled the plug on Redx. That was one thing, and the whole butterfly thing where they at least they kept it in but they nerfed it.
Yeah. Yeah, like there are these quirky mechanics, but at the same time you don't need the quirky mechanics to have a fun raid either.
True. That's
And
true.
like they just need to be creative and allow the players to be creative, and that's all it takes to make a fun and engaging content.
But can you imagine if that ended up being the meta though, where people are literally fucking bringing hunter kits into the raid when they're attempting chamber spread?
Yeah, exactly. Like crazy.
It sounds crazy, but at the same time, it'd be cool to see because at the
Yeah.
same time, it's not the craziest time save. The people who really, really care, the devoted people, they'll do it though.
Yeah, I mean like we have a 44 or 40 what was it? 42 crabs method, but it requires like all the crabs to line up, and it requires everyone to like splash on a crab and aggro the crab without the crab hopefully random walking in the wrong direction. So it's complete just RNG to try and get the
Oof.
42. But yeah, it's kind of boring.
Have you guys ever gotten the 42 or not yet?
Yeah, we did. We
Ooh.
did get it once, and then like after like 90 minutes of attempts.
Okay, so it's not practical.
Exactly, it's not practical whatsoever. It's just
Yeah,
a novelty thing.
that's unfortunate. Oh well, who knows? Maybe in the future things will change, but it's hard to say because it's kind of been that trend. But like over the years, they kept changing things, and they sometimes undo it, sometimes they don't. Though.
Yeah,
All right.
we'll see. Hopefully, DT2 bosses are fun, and good rewards. That's the hope.
Fingers crossed. All right, so I guess we could wrap this up. Is there any last things that you'd want to mention, Mr. Deo?
Um, Not really. It's just if you have an interest in game mechanics, just like I was discussing, like how actions are processed in the tick, feel free to join the Summit public Discord, or maybe even apply to the Summit itself. Or if you need combat achievements, if you need team-related combat achievements, you can also join discord.gg/4D boosting, and we'll help you out with those.
Yeah, I'll make sure
And it's
in the
yeah.
I'll make sure in the description to throw in the link for both of those as well. I was gonna make sure to give a shout out because it's only fair. have you on for the show, so it's only fair for you to shout out where they can find you. But thanks again so much for your time, and I don't have any guests lined up this time, so I'm not going to spoil who's going to end up being next. I got to go through the phone book to see who I'm going to end up getting next. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And again, thanks again to Mr. Deo for his time. Until
Thanks
next
for
time,
having me.
guys. I will see you next time.
Peace.